Many people were first introduced to Maximum Ride on the big screen, a winged girl leading her flock in a desperate escape. The movie was meant to launch a franchise, but it never received a sequel. And just as the story was about to take off, it was abandoned. The film follows the core premise created by James Patterson, but it simplifies the story, changes key details, and leaves out major parts of the books. In the movie, we follow Max and her group of young mutants who were created as experiments in the school, a secret laboratory. After little Angel is kidnapped, the flock infiltrates the facility to rescue her, facing the Erasers' deadly hybrids engineered to hunt them down. After betrayals, revelations about Max's past, and a tense confrontation with her creator, the conflict ends with the group escaping and the promise that the experiments are finally over. But that adaptation only gave us part of the story. This is the true ending of Maximum Ride. Max is 14 years old, and she's spent her entire life running, not metaphorically, literally. She and her family escaped from a secret laboratory called the School when they were still children, rescued by a man named Jeb, who vanished 2 years later without a trace. Since then, they've been hiding in a house perched on a cliff, alone against the world. They're not normal humans. Fang barely speaks, but when he fights, words aren't necessary. Iggy lost his sight in a failed experiment and learned to see the world through his hands, including how to build a bomb. Nudge never stops talking, but whenever she touches an object, she instantly knows who owned it before. Gazzy can mimic any voice with unsettling accuracy. And Angel, the youngest, smiles like an ordinary little girl while reading your thoughts without you even noticing. There are 6 of them, they're a family, and something is hunting them. Their peace lasts about as long as good things ever do for them, not long at all. That morning, they head out to pick wild strawberries, walking together as the air fills with the scent of pine and damp earth, and for a moment everything feels normal enough to forget they're fugitives. But then the sky darkens, and the Erasers burst through the trees like falling boulders, and the normal world disappears again. The Erasers are human wolf hybrids created by the school to hunt them down stronger and faster than anything Max has ever faced. And this time, they arrive with a leader she recognizes in horror. Ari, Jeb's son, a 7-year-old boy twisted by scientists into a weapon, now commanding the squads that chase them with a cruelty that seems bottomless. When Max regains consciousness among the dust and leaves, Angel is gone. The Erasers carried her away in a sack while Max was unconscious, and even though the pain blurs her vision, she forces herself to stand immediately because there's no time for fear, only action. They chase the truck from the air, Fang hurling branches to smash the windshield while bullets tear through the sky around them. But they're too late. A helicopter waits in a clearing. The Erasers force Angel into the helicopter and lift off before the flock can reach them. Max clings to one of the landing skids with all her strength, but Ari aims at her from inside, and she has no choice but to let go. The failure hurts more than the bruises ever could. She flies alone to the top of a tall tree and slams her fists against the bark until blood stains the wood, because she needs to think. She needs a plan. But more than anything, she needs to get the sound of that helicopter carrying her little sister away out of her head. She knows where they took Angel, the school, the one place in the world she swore she would never return to. The journey is long and hungry, and along the way, Max spots a group of boys harassing a girl. She knows she should keep moving, but she can't. She lands and confronts them, but one of the bullies pulls out a shotgun and fires before she can disarm him, hitting her in the shoulder and sending her tumbling down a thorn-covered slope. Pain has never stopped her before, and it isn't about to start now. The girl's name is Ella, and her mother is a veterinarian. When Max stumbles into their home trembling and soaked, allowing them to cut away her shirt and examine her injured wing, Ella's mother doesn't scream or back away. Instead, she calmly prepares medical supplies without hesitation, while Max tries to remember the last time anyone took care of her like this. The X-ray reveals something else. A tiny white square embedded in her arm, a tracking microchip implanted when she was a child, now so deeply fused with her muscles and nerves that removing it could permanently damage her hand. That's why the Erasers always find them. The school has been tracking them everywhere they go without them ever realizing it. Max spends one night in that house, eating homemade cookies and feeling something she barely recognizes because she's experienced it so rarely, the warmth of a real home. Leaving is harder than she thought it would be. The flock flies west with tension hanging in every beat of their wings, but the erasers track them down at a fast food restaurant. The chase ends when their truck crashes head-on into another vehicle, and the airbag smashes Max's nose before she can react. The erasers smash through the windows and drag them outside. Gazzy and Iggy manage to escape into the air, but Max, Fang, and Nudge are captured. They wake up in metal cages, the smell of disinfectant filling their lungs as panic comes rushing back. Max sees Angel in the cage beside hers, thin, bruised, and still trying to smile, and Max swallows back her tears, promising they'll get out even though she has no idea how. Then Jeb appears, and Max feels her world tilt beneath her, because the man who once saved them is now working with their tormentors. Speaking calmly, Jeb tells her she was created for a specific purpose, that she's the centerpiece of a genetic project meant to save humanity. But Max stares back coldly and rejects every word, because after everything she's been through, she recognizes manipulation the moment she hears it. Their rescue comes from the sky when they least expect it. Gazzy and Iggy have guided a flock of hawks to the facility, and the birds descend on the erasers with claws and beaks, while Max forces open her cage from the inside and shoves Angel toward the sky. The group escapes into the sky while Jeb shouts after them from below, yelling that it was all a test. But Max ignores him because she no longer cares if it's true. Before they can rest, a mysterious voice begins speaking directly into Max's mind without permission. Then Angel reveals something she overheard in the cells. Somewhere in New York, there's a place holding the real files about their origins. They decide to go, because they have nothing left to lose and because the alternative is never learning who they truly are. The city overwhelms them with noise, crowds, and constant movement, and the erasers track them down so quickly they barely have time to breathe before sprinting through crowded streets and slipping into the zoo through the front gates. The caged animals remind Max too much of her childhood, twisting her stomach, so they leave through a service exit and follow the voice in her head to 31st Street. Inside the Institute, Nudge touches a computer screen and senses the thoughts of an employee, pulling the system password from her mind without anyone noticing. They access the files and find names, addresses, and photographs of people who might be their parents. Max prints everything she can while trying not to think about the fact that there's no file anywhere explaining where she came from. Behind a curtain, they discover something that leaves them breathless. Mutant children sleeping on the cold floor, failed experiments abandoned after their bodies couldn't survive the genetic manipulation. Max opens the cages with trembling hands and wakes them gently, because she can't bring herself to leave them behind. They try to lead the children up the stairs when Aerie intercepts them in the tunnel, and the fight turns brutal. Max feels her ribs crack under his blows until she takes advantage of him slipping on the slime-covered floor and drives her foot into his throat with every bit of strength she has left. The crack echoes through the concrete tunnel. Aerie's eyes go still, fixed on nothing. Jeb steps out of the shadows, screaming his son's name, then turns on Max, shouting that she just killed her own brother. But Max doesn't answer. She can't stay there and listen to more lies, and she'd rather face the silence of the escape than the doubt those words plant deep inside her chest. They emerge into the rain-soaked streets with the printed files clutched in their hands, and while her friends cry with relief after seeing the names and addresses of people who might be their families, Max smiles and celebrates with them while hiding her own sadness. There's no file explaining where she came from. She still belongs to no one. Then the voice in her head speaks again, reminding her that her mission is bigger than finding her parents, that her genetic code holds the key to preventing a global collapse. Max stares at the sunrise creeping across the sky, realizing the fight isn't over. It's only changing direction. The months that follow take them to Washington, where the government offers them protection in exchange for their obedience. But it's a trap. Fang nearly dies in an ambush, and only Max's blood is able to save him. Iggy sees his biological parents on television and decides to stay with them, leaving a hole in the flock that no one knows how to fill. And with a new target on the horizon, a corporation called ITEX, planning to wipe out half of humanity, the group moves forward smaller, more exhausted, and more wounded than ever before. What no one expects is Ari's return. The scientists rebuilt him after Max killed him in the tunnel, because to the school, even death is just another problem that can be fixed if the subject is still useful. Now he flies heavier than before, with grafted wings that leave raw scars carved across his back, but he obeys his creators, and that's all that matters. Fang wants to stop. He wants to find somewhere safe to hide and finally rest, and when he says it out loud, the younger kids immediately agree because fear and exhaustion have worn them down more than any of them want to admit. Max talks about saving the world. Fang talks about surviving long enough to see tomorrow. Their voices clash in the middle of the wind, while the distance between them grows wider with every beat of their wings, until neither of them knows how to close the distance anymore. The argument has no winner, but the mission can't wait. Ever since she was a child, Max has carried a tracking chip implanted in her arm by the school, and Dr. Martinez, the veterinarian who protected them before, agrees to remove it even though the risk is real. The surgery is quick, but the anesthesia completely clouds Max's mind, making every thought spill out before she can stop it. Before she can stop herself, she blurts out that she's in love with Fang while he watches silently from the corner of the room. After the operation, her left hand is left weak and partially paralyzed, and while the physical pain is manageable, the humiliation of what she admitted under anesthesia is far harder to ignore. Neither of them knows how to fix what's broken between them. They return to camp and find it completely abandoned, tire tracks carved into the dusty ground like a message too obvious to be accidental. Deep in the desert, they discover a semi-hidden truck filled with synthetic-skinned robots, mechanical replacements for the erasers. And standing beside them, her eyes cold, stripped of all affection, is Angel. Her mind control powers have grown so strong that she can now erase emotional bonds entirely. Something slams into the back of Max's head, and everything goes black. Waking up feels cold and metallic because they're back at the school. Jeb and Dr. Walker step into the White Room and claim the last few months were nothing but a fabricated dream. Before the flock can even process it, the scientists demand one final round of testing. The group answers with sarcasm and outright refusal, so they're locked inside a cage in the middle of a dark field. Execution feels inevitable until Ares sinks his teeth into the bars with savage force, ripping through the metal and tearing his own mouth apart as he pries the cage open while Max orders everyone to run. Then Max does the one thing no one expects. She offers Ari a place beside them. Fang rejects the idea instantly, furious as he remembers every wound Ari caused them. But Max notices something. Fang hasn't a date tattooed on the boy's neck, marking the day of his programmed genetic death, because Ari is Max's half-brother, and the scientists had already decided exactly when his usefulness would end. The flock separates in the sky. Fang heads west with Iggy and Gazzy without looking back, and Max feels it hit her like a punch to the chest as his silhouette disappears into the clouds. Something between them has broken in a way neither of them knows how to fix. The trail of Itex leads them to a medieval castle in Germany, surrounded by barbed wire and guarded day and night. They slip across the walls under cover of darkness and discover something horrifying inside. Rows of figures marching in perfect unison, identical clones engineered to replace them and carry out Itex's orders without hesitation or emotion. They're captured before they can escape and chained inside an underground cellar, while propaganda echoes endlessly through loudspeakers overhead. When darkness falls, Jeb sneaks into the cell and finally tells Max the truth while kneeling in front of her. The director lied to her about her origins. Her real biological source came from somewhere else, from Dr. Martinez, the veterinarian who once handed Max warm cookies and offered her shelter when nobody else would. The realization hits Max all at once. Her mother wasn't the madwoman from the laboratory. She was the woman who gave her the only real home she'd ever known. The counterattack begins outside when Fang arrives at the castle gates with thousands of young people he rallied through his blog. In the chaos that follows, the director forces Max into a fight against Omega, the ultimate experiment created specifically to kill her. The blows slam into her ribs with enough force to break anyone else, but Max pushes through the pain and studies Omega's eyes until she spots the weakness. He can't track rapid movements. She waves her injured hand in front of his face, forcing his eyes to follow it, then smashes him across the nose and knocks him down before stepping away without killing him. That's one line she refuses to cross no matter what. Max and Nudge seize the director by the arms and drag her into the sky, demanding she confirm the name of Max's real mother. Between terrified screams, the woman confesses. Max lets go of her, then changes her mind at the last possible second and dives after her, catching her before impact, because Max is not a killer, no matter how hard the world tries to turn her into one. The reunion with Fang happens on an island off the coast of North Carolina. He steps out from beneath the shadow of the oak trees, and Max runs to him without thinking. They hold each other beneath the pale sunlight in a way that says everything neither of them knows how to put into words. Together they travel to Arizona, where Dr. Martinez waits for them on the porch with tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time in a long while, Max lets herself cry against someone's shoulder, finally feeling like she belongs. What follows are years of endless battles against new enemies and fresh betrayals. A boy named Dylan, genetically engineered to be Max's perfect partner, enters their lives and throws the flock's fragile balance into chaos. Fang eventually leaves behind only a letter that Max reads 3 times before she fully understands it. That loving her makes him lose focus, that the distraction puts all of them in danger, and that he'll be waiting for her on a cliff 20 years from now. Max folds the letter and slips it into her pocket, then cries alone that night. Angel vanishes during an explosion in Paris, and the flock believes she's dead, unaware that she's actually trapped inside a laboratory where wires and monitors are the only sky she sees. Max tries to build a quiet life in Oregon when Fang suddenly returns, wounded and carrying devastating news. The laboratories discovered that his DNA can regenerate endlessly. If they ever capture him, they'll keep him alive forever on a dissecting table. Max sees him more vulnerable than she ever has before, and she feels their connection slowly rebuilding beneath the shadow of a threat that keeps growing larger. Then hope arrives through a comment left on Fang's blog containing a blurry photograph that confirms Angel's location. The flock flies deep into the desert, climbs down a steel ladder, and finds her strapped to a table, weak, nearly blind, her wings damaged after scientists clipped away her flight feathers and operated on her eyes. Max wraps her arms around her sister without saying a word, because words aren't necessary. The peace lasts only moments before a horde of erasers and Jeb surround the house. Jeb demands Fang's death to save the planet, while Dylan fights with desperate determination, tormented by the fact that he was programmed to protect Max and threatened with her death if he refuses to surrender Fang. Dylan chooses to fight anyway, no matter the cost, and his body finally collapses under the strain. Then the sky tears apart. An asteroid crashes into Earth, triggering a chain reaction of nuclear explosions that no government can stop in time. A wave of unbearable heat sweeps across the island, while a massive wall of water rises on the horizon. Max and Fang hold each other tightly, accepting that their fight is finally over. But the ocean tears them away, and Dylan, somehow finding strength from nowhere, drags them back to the surface before the current swallows them forever. The old world disappears beneath ash and ruins, but somehow, they're still alive. What remains is a shattered planet filled with drowned cities, gray skies, and mutated creatures defending territories buried in ruin. Max and the flock cross the Pacific searching for survivors and for the enemy responsible for all of it. That enemy has a name: Dr. Gunther Hagen, a geneticist who believes humanity can only survive through extermination. He operates from tunnels beneath Russia, where his soldiers hunt down mutants while his plans move forward unchecked. Max walks alone into the laboratory where she was created and finds Jeb waiting for her among operating tables and glass containers. The man who once rescued and raised her now looks at her as if she's nothing more than a scientific specimen while preaching about genetic perfection and the need to erase what makes people human. Former enemies from Fang's gang burst into the room and snap Jeb's neck before he can inject Max, leaving behind a silence that carries the bitter weight of everything that could have been different. Max quietly mourns the man who might have been good. Dr. Gunther Hagen appears with wires and explosives strapped across his chest, and Max drags him up the stairs while the ground shakes beneath them. She lifts him into the gray sky and forces him to confess his crimes while speaking with a calmness so cold it's sickening. Then Max places a hand on her stomach and tells him she's pregnant, that a part of Fang still lives inside her, and that's something he will never be able to control. Gunther Hagen turns pale and slams his hand against the device meant to trigger the bomb, but the signal fails. Max releases him and watches him fall. Dylan appears when no one expects him, having spent years secretly protecting the flock after surviving. He tells Max what really happened during the final battle. Fang stayed behind alone to hold off the riders and cover the group's escape. They shot him down, tore away one of his wings, and threw him into the bottom of a canyon. Dylan found the body, kept it preserved in stasis, and carried it to Jeb's laboratory while waiting for the right moment. Now he offers Max a chance to bring Fang back. She accepts instantly, even knowing the cost will be devastating. Dylan connects the cables to his own body while Max desperately begs him to stop. He looks at her with a calm expression that somehow hurts even more, before telling her he was created to protect her. And this is the first time he's ever truly been able to choose what that means. Then he throws the switch. Thousands of volts surge through his body and leap into the operating table. Dylan's strength fades slowly, but he smiles before closing his eyes, not like someone dying, but like someone finally completing the purpose they were born for. Fang wakes with a sharp breath and a new wing, while Max breaks down with relief and grief at the same time for the boy who gave everything and never came back. They spend the next 4 years underground, learning how to grow food in darkness, how to treat wounds without medicine, and how to stay patient when fear tells them to run. During those years, they raise a little girl with dark wings named Phoenix, growing among the ruins like proof that something new can still rise from everything that was lost. The day the sky finally turns blue again, nobody says a word about it. Someone simply looks up first. And together, in silence, they step outside and breathe clean air for the first time in years. Max watches her daughter fly for the very first time, black wings slicing through the clear sky, while Fang watches from below with a smile that says everything. Behind them lie the ruins. Ahead of them stretches a sky that finally feels like theirs. They didn't survive because they were the strongest. They survived because no matter what happened, they never stopped flying together. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.